Hello and welcome to Sports Week. It's time for another AFCON roundup because we get to the quarterfinal stage, and now it's Saturday night's two quarterfinals. We've got Algeria versus Nigeria and Egypt versus Ivory Coast. So Tolu, let's start with Algeria, Nigeria. Algeria, one of the pre-tournament favourites. Are they living up to their billing? Can they get past the Super Eagles on Saturday?
Oh, they can. I can tell you they can. I was really impressed with how they performed against the DRC. The DRC are one of the teams on the African continent who have a rich history in African football. I don't think anyone thought they'd win the AFCON, but they were the dark horse. There were some people's dark horses, especially when you look at the spine of that team. They've got Noah Sadiki from Sunderland, who's had a good tournament. They still got Chancellor Member, who's rolling back the years at the back for them. Got some very decent players, Theo Bongonda, up top, Cedric Bakambu. They've got some really, really good players. Axel Twanzebe and Aaron Wan-Bissaka all play for the DRC. I thought they pushed Algeria all the way. I expected a little more, but then I realized that the Algerian team had a lot of quality. To be able to dominate a team like DRC shows that, one, they're not afraid to mix it up physically, which was quite a surprise for me. Of all the streetwise teams on the African continent from the North, I always thought that the North Africans had a tendency to struggle with the physicality of the teams from the West. And I always thought maybe Egypt and Morocco were the ones who could deal with that physicality. But Algeria showed that they could. And the manager isn't scared to make some big changes. He did take off Riyad Mahrez during the 90 minutes, even though he knew the game was going to extra time. So that was a bold call from him, because you look at him and he's one of their most important players, but they've got so much in terms of the guys who can come off the bench. Bounedjah, who has been one of their best, one of the most talismanic strikers, also didn't play until the last 10 minutes in extra time. So it's going to be a very difficult game, to be honest. The Super Eagles, on the other hand, have won every single game at this AFCON. I'll be biased and tell you that the feeling in Nigeria is this could be Nigeria's year. Even coming to the AFCON, no one thought that. Remember, they failed to qualify for the World Cup after some very, very questionable performances. But there's a bit of a problem in the Nigerian camp. Victor Osimhen fell out, was literally at loggerheads with some of his teammates, most especially Ademola Lookman in the round of 16 game. He complained about not being passed to, but he went on and on about it. The optics weren't really nice. If you see the videos, they almost came to blows. It took Wilfred Indeed, the captain, to try to douse it on the pitch. And he asked to be substituted immediately after the incident. And Nigeria was 3-0 up at that time. So it was a little unnecessary. And those kind of things really, because you look at those two, and they're probably two of Nigeria's most important players. Ademola Lookman is the top scorer for Nigeria at the AFCON. He's got 4 assists at this AFCON, so he's very important. He's a very important player. And you look at Victor Osimhen, and I don't need to tell you about him. He's probably one of the best strikers on the African continent. And if it feels like there's a bit of friction between your two best players heading into a crucial game, like one against Algeria, that could spell trouble. I feel like tactically the Super Eagles might have hacked it with Eric Chell. He plays 2 up top, which is not something you can say about a lot of coaches now. I think everyone tries to shy away from playing 2 up top, but he plays 2 up top and goes really hard early on. I feel like Algeria can take advantage of the problems in the Nigeria camp. And if Nigeria do not start fast against Algeria, I think the Algerians might outsmart them like they did 2 editions ago when they did knock Nigeria out in the semi-finals of the AFCON.
Well, when we look at the bookmaker odds, Nigeria are slightly favourites. So I'm asking you for a prediction. Is that something you agree with? What's going to happen in this Saturday quarterfinal?
Yeah, I think that's a good prediction. I think the Super Eagles have blown away a few teams, and so they come into this as favourites. But like I said, Nigeria against Algeria isn't one that will be played by the bookies. It will be played by the players. If I was a betting man, I'd really avoid going with a result in this one. I probably would go both teams to score, because Nigeria hardly keep clean sheets. The clean sheet in the round of 16 against Mozambique was the first of this AFCON. And when you watch the Algeria team play, they always seem to have goals in them. So I'd probably go both teams to score. And I think it'll be done in 90 minutes. So I probably will go over 2.5 goals also.
So Tolu's promising goals. We'll see if he's correct at the weekend. But there's a small matter of Egypt versus Ivory Coast to follow that. On paper, this looks like the most even contest of the 4 across the weekend. Does that mean it's the hardest to pick, or have you got a clear winner in this one?
This is the hardest to pick. But the only thing that favors the Egyptians here is they don't lose to Ivory Coast at the AFCON. They always seem to get the better of the Ivory Coast at the AFCON. Even when the Ivory Coast had the golden generation of Yaya Toure, Kolo Toure, DJ Drogba, were all playing for the Ivory Coast. They never seem to be able to beat the Egyptians at the AFCON. They lost a couple of finals to them. So it's, on paper, the closest. I think after Nigeria and Algeria, I think it's probably the closest to call. I think every smart betting person, especially when you saw the Ivorian performance against Burkina Faso in the round of 16, and won that game quite comfortably 3-0. Egypt struggled a bit, but still got the job done in their round of 16 fixture. So I think this one has a draw written all over it. There's a lot at stake now. And I think there'll be a lot of cautiousness in this fixture. I don't think the Ivorians, people forget that the Ivorians are actually the defending champions of the AFCON. And they go into this fixture almost with no one thinking that they're the strongest team amongst the last 8 teams in the tournament at the moment. I feel the Egyptians have got a slight edge. They still have to sort out who scores goals for them, because I think that Mohamed Salah, he's found a way to play really well out on the right. I think it's through the middle that they're struggling a bit. I don't think Omar Mamouche is a number 9 that they're trying to get him to play for Egypt. So I think when he gets withdrawn into like a number 8 role, plays just behind the striker, he seems to have more effect on the game. Against the Ivorians, it's going to be physical, but the Egyptians have shown over time on the African continent, it's not a fluke that they're the ones that have won the most AFCONs. You don't win the most AFCONs by not being streetwise to how other African teams play. So I think it's going to be a very, very difficult contest. I think the Egyptians have got enough about them to trouble the Ivorians. And I don't think the Egyptians have played any team like the Ivorians at this AFCON just yet. So it'll be interesting to see the defending champions against the record winners. I feel it will be very, very tight. This one looks like it will go all the way.
Tolu, you've got one more bet for the weekend. What is going on your betting slip for this one?
I think what's going to go on my bet is the same thing that probably is going to go on every bet on the African continent this weekend. It's going to be a straight draw between Egypt and the Ivory Coast. Dare I say, I could put my neck on the line and tell you the correct score will be 0-0.
Very bold. Well, let's see how it all pans out over the weekend. A fantastic weekend of AFCON awaits. Tolu, thanks for your time as always, and I'll catch you next week.
Thank you very much, Dan. See you then.